There's been a major proposed shift in the housing market, and it could change how millions of Americans buy homes. President Trump said he plans to stop large institutional investors, think big Wall Street firms, from buying more single family homes and ask Congress to codify that ban into law. His argument: homes are for people, not for corporations. Now, right now, this is a proposal, not a law. We don't yet have details on what the large investor means legally or whether existing holdings would be affected. Now, what do you think? Should big investors be allowed to buy homes in our markets? Drop a comment and let me know. Here's something important. Institutional investors actually only make up a very small share of the overall US housing market. Large firms with more than 100 homes are even smaller nationally. However, in certain metro areas like Atlanta, Charlotte, and cities in the Sun Belt, institutions actually hold a much larger slice of homes, and that's where its effects, if a ban ever happens, would be most felt. Think about markets like Phoenix and Atlanta, where investor ownership is concentrated versus places where it is not. That contrast matters. Do you think these firms actually make it harder for regular buyers, or is it that just a myth? Okay, let's say a ban actually was enacted. What might actually happen? First, you'd see a pricing pressure shift down or up. Some experts say removing investor demand could ease competition and slightly lower prices, but since these investor accounts for a small share nationally, the impact might only be modest. Second, we'd see home building and supply, which could be affected by institutional capital, which just isn't buying these existing homes. It's also building build-to-rent communities, which adds units to the market. Limiting that could slow housing starts and worsen supply, potentially raising prices in the long run. The third thing would be, what about the current tenants in these houses? Many of these rental homes are occupied, and if they're forced to sell off, that could displace these renters who couldn't afford to buy at today's prices. There's that same chance for the sticker shock with new rental prices too. Now, would you rather see more rent-to-own homes or build-to-rent options, or more houses go to individual buyers? And why? Experts point out that the biggest driver of housing unaffordability isn't investor buying, it's supply shortage. There simply aren't enough homes being built relative to the demand. High labor, material costs, zoning barriers, and low construction rates are much bigger price forces. So even if investors are blocked, without more supply for home prices, they might not fall much at all. So what do you think is the real cause for high home prices? Is it lack of supply, high rates, or investor activity? So yes, obviously this big proposed ban is a huge political headline, and it feels like it's aimed at making housing more affordable, but whether it would help, especially here in Minnesota or other markets, depends on specifics that aren't public yet, and big trends like supply and rates that we can't ignore. If you want a deep dive on how this could affect your impact of buying a home, market prices, or rental versus ownership opportunities where you live, comment below or send me a message. Let's talk about it. Now, what's your hot take? Agree, disagree, or have questions? Let's discuss it in the comments.